All right, today I'm gonna give you guys the details on the startup costs for my 5 side hustles from the cheapest to the most expensive. Hi, I'm Emily. I get paid to party. I run a handful of party service businesses out of my house, show you guys the behind the scenes of how you could make hundreds to thousands of dollars a week from home running a party service business. Okay, so a week or so ago, I did a video on the easiest of side hustles to start to the hardest and listed all of those. And I got a lot of questions on the startup cost of those businesses. So today I'm gonna give you the startup costs of all of the businesses from the cheapest to the most expensive. With the caveat, understand that all of these are the startup costs for the equipment. So that's not including like filing your LLC, getting insurance, building the website, that sort of thing. I will touch on those things at the end of the video if you're interested. Okay, so when I was making this list, I realized that I always forget that my party rental business, I actually started with just 3 large yard games. I have like hundreds of items in inventory now, and so it can seem overwhelming with lots of those things, and I think people tend to think like party rentals, you need a lot of money. I always forget, I started that with just 3 large yard games that were less than $300. So that's gonna be my true cheapest side hustle I've started, was because that's all it was. I had giant Jenga, giant Connect 4, and cornhole in my garage taking up space. When I had the idea for the DIY party rentals, I was like, let me just list these items I have and see if anybody's interested. And it kind of all started from there and has blown up. But as those items were getting rented out, instead of keeping the money, I would take the money I was making and reinvest in more items, which now we have hundreds of items and we do a lot of business. But I truly started that with just less than $300 worth of yard games. So that's obviously number one as the most affordable to start. You can start that way. I know some people want a lot more inventory, but that's truly what I started with. Second is gonna be the bouquet bar, and that was about $500 worth of equipment. You don't need a ton to start. Obviously you have to buy like the little bouquet bar stand, and then I bought like the decor that goes around it. So it was like a rug, an umbrella, a table, a little trunk, like some of that stuff, but you can truly get the bouquet bar off the ground for around $500 worth of equipment. Okay, number 3 is gonna be foam parties, F-O-A-M, foam. And that is gonna be about $2,500 worth of equipment to get that started. So those foam cannon, that would include the foam cannon and then like all of the little things that you need for a job to go with it. You can get going on that for about $2,500. Then fourth in line is gonna be the hosted, like big Nerf Wars events. I don't wanna get those confused with, I talk a lot about our party rental business, how we offer DIY Nerf Wars, where it's like packets of smaller Nerf stuff that people can rent and do the Nerf Wars party at their house themselves. This is not the same. These are like the giant industrial size inflatables, lots more big, higher end, nicer equipment. This is where that one we probably spent somewhere around about $4,000 worth of equipment to get that going. And then that brings me to our last side hustle, which is the most expensive, and that is the mobile video game truck. And this gets exponentially more expensive. The mobile video game truck cost us about $60,000 to get off the ground. We had to get a business loan for that, obviously. That one is our longest running business. We've been in business for 4 years, and that one does bring in every year into the 6 figures of sales. So much more large investment, but you make money much quicker and kind of easier with that one. These other ones I'm still growing. That being said, almost all of these other ones I think has the same potential to make the same amount, if not more, than the video game truck, with less work and less overhead. So that's why I've started those other ones. Once I got familiar with the party industry and what you can charge for parties and what people are willing to pay for different types of services. Okay, so that's the startup cost for the equipment. I will say you have to factor in filing your LLC. Here in Arizona, that is like $75. It's cheap, but I have had lots of people from other states telling me theirs is like $400, $500, $600, $800. So that depends on where you live, the cost there. I do always think that everybody needs insurance before you're doing business with customers. That is a monthly fee though, not a yearly upfront thing. For the record, my insurance for all my businesses is that we have the $1 and $2 million general liability coverage, and my monthly premium for that large coverage for all those businesses is around $400 a month. So where you're able to find insurance and for what type of business, you just need to factor that in there. And then of course things like website building, which I use Wix, and it's like, I don't know, $10, $15, $20 a month. Some little subscriptions here. I need Signwell for contracts, which is like $12 a month. You're gonna have some little things like that that you need to factor in for startup costs, but I wanted to give you guys the breakdown of overall what you would need to spend or allocate for equipment to kind of get any of these businesses off the ground. Okay, ask me any questions you've got.